Hello, this is Team SDMA 2533, and this is a video kind of explaining and walking through the documentation repo and how it's set up. So on the home page for the documentation repo, you're kind of greeted with these three main directories here, which each directory is the documentation for the previous and current teams. And if you click on a directory, then you're greeted with all the documentation for that specific team, where the documentation that you upload or that a team uploads will at least need to be a docx and a PDF, where the PDF version of that documentation is just to simply view it, and then the docx or the pptx file or the file version is then to be able to, if that file needs to be edited and then reused by the current team, then it can easily be done so through the docx or pptx file. And so every team kind of has their own different format for the directory here. So like, the first team, they kind of threw their documentation into subdirectories for the different topics for the documentation. And then they just kind of threw all the documentation, so all the different documentation versions, into that one directory. So it's a little unorganized. And then the next team, or the previous team, um, had three kind of main subdirectories. So all the documentation and slides, all the documentation for videos, and then all the documentation that are in write-up form. And then for the write-ups, they had docx and PDF versions. So one to be able to view and one to be able to edit. And then just kind of threw all the documentation that they written into the write-ups subdirectory. Um, and for our team, we made subdirectories to match the kind of main documentation topics that we cover, and then within each topic, we then split the documentation so into the docx folder, the PDF folder, and then also the videos, which you can also find that on the YouTube channel. And so it can be a little confusing, like just navigating through the directories that way. And so another thing that you can do is instead of going through the directories that way, what can be done is, I guess before we get to that, here's also just the README file, just kind of describing what the project is, and also kind of listing important links that could be used while working on the project. So kind of like the current PrairieLearn server, or our current PrairieLearn server, our code repo, the team website, the PrairieLearn YouTube channel, and then also links to kind of like PrairieLearn and some of the emulators and autograders that are used, and then also the like 288 website. But the main thing is like to navigate through this website or through the documentation repo, instead of just going through the directories blindly or navigating through those. There's also a wiki that kind of lays out where all the documentation is and what the documentation items are. And so you do that through the wiki, which you can access the wiki at the very bottom of the README file, or on the side here, there's a wiki tab. So you click that, and so it'll take you to like the wiki homepage here, where once again it'll give you the description of the project here, give you those links again that were within the README, give you like there's a quick start section here to that links documentation for how to like set up the server, set up PrairieLearn locally, and then if you're going to start using emulators right away, then also giving you the documentation made on the various emulators that are used within the project. And then here you're given documentation, or this section is documentation for each team. So like, for our team right now, we have kind of two wiki pages. One is the kind of the overview of what the team did, and then the next page is focusing on or laying out all the documentation that we made and hyperlinking that to easily find, whatever documentation you're looking for. So like if I go to the overview tab here, This page will kind of summarize all of the new functionality and everything that we did for the project. So, for example, we improved on all homework questions for homeworks 1 through 9, and then integrated Microsoft single sign-on onto the prod server. And then kind of the more important thing here is this next step section, which explains, what we tried to do or what we couldn't do and what we're carrying over to the next team and what they should kind of focus on. And then hyperlinking documentation to help explain those next steps. And then also just a little bit of info about the team. And if you ever need to contact them for further questioning on stuff that you're working on. But the kind of main page within this documentation section is each team's documentation page, which once again I'll have like the quick start section here, but the next couple sections will actually list out every single documentation item that the team has made and has put into their team directory, such as all the videos that we've made. We'll hyperlink these here, and then these videos are also able to be viewed on the YouTube channel. So clicking this will take you to the MP4 file for how to autograde simple questions. And then for all the documentation write-ups that we've made and put into the repo, we've also declared what that documentation is, and then also giving you hyperlinks to be able to view the PDF or the docx file for each documentation item. And so I recommend using the wiki page and using this section here to be able to quickly find the documentation that you're looking for, and just being able to quickly find that. And then similarly, the previous team, Estimate 2433, they also have similar structure where they have an overview page, and then they have a documentation page here where they also list out all the various videos and write-ups that they've made, and then hyperlinking each documentation item. And then I even believe the first team also has a similar setup here, listing their videos and write-ups, and hyperlinking all the documentation. And so, it's highly recommended that when you're, you need to find a specific documentation item from a previous team to go to that team's documentation wiki page to find what you're looking for.